Welcome back to the Last Word podcast. As always, I'm Jay.
Rabbit.
And we have a very special guest with us today.
Hello.
This is Joseph.
Hello. What's going on?
We're a very close friend. I think we've mentioned him in a podcast previous to this one.
Already some pre-mentions.
Yeah, nothing, just that you were our friend.
You're like, he exists. He's a human. He's a friend. He's a human person that we may or may not be acquainted with. Mm-hmm. And he exists on this timeline.
Exactly.
Thank you. Well, I have come to join.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what I have to bring to the table. That's
That's
all.
I consider this person one of my best friends, and he was my man of honor at mine and Jay's wedding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, just,
a little
that
more context.
How long ago was that? You guys
Wedding.
just had an anniversary?
6 years ago.
Yeah.
6 years.
6 years ago, yeah.
I'm the time. Do you remember that day? It was it was just beautiful.
I do remember.
You
that day.
showed up in that old car, and I was like, "Who is in this old car?" And then I was like, "Oh, it's Rachel."
Yeah. Right. Who's
It's Rabbit.
Right. It's okay.
I'm giving away. I would be an awful spy. First of
Yeah,
all,
you're giving away all of our secrets. But,
okay,
yeah,
edit that out.
Yeah, my wedding planner did a really good job, and that was part of their point is to make my entrance to getting to the wedding really spectacular.
It was great. But back to me. I'm just kidding.
What? More about me.
Enough about your wedding.
So, more about your special, glorious day. More about my existence. Oh, kidding. No, I've known Jay for about 1 trillion years.
Yes.
We met in third grade.
3rd grade.
I still remember the first day we met. I didn't have a lot of friends because I was the weird kid. Still am, but I wasn't a weird kid. I was just a quiet kid.
Super quiet.
I just didn't talk.
And you were also the new kid.
I was. We had just moved. My father was a pastor growing up, and we traveled a lot. And we had moved to Arizona for a while. I was born in the same city as Jay. But I had moved away for a while, and then my grandpa got sick, so we moved back, and that's where our story kind of started.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't have any friends in the 3rd grade, and then Jay and another friend, G, invited me to play on the slides, and I remember I went down on the slide first, and it was wet, because it had rained the night before, just there's condensation, but my whole backside was wet, and I was just like, this is the best day of my life.
I don't even care.
Definitely probably got tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Could have. I don't know. Do people still get that?
Not so much anymore. Maybe with this anti-vaxxing, it might come back, but typically it's
gonna come back into fashion.
Yeah.
Oh no, not
What are you wearing for fall
it's
2019?
in vogue, yeah.
Tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis. What?
But that's how I met Jay, and then through him I met Rabbit, and yeah, I'm kind of the Miley Cyrus in this Don't Call Me Angel menage a trois. Minus the menaging, more just the twaing.
I don't know what that means.
It's okay. This is what I bring to the table: nonsense, pop culture, gayness. I am of the gay pedigree, so in case you had not caught on. But anyway, Don't Call Me Angel was a collaboration between Miley Cyrus, Ariana Grande, and, oh my god, Lana Del Rey. So I'm Miley Cyrus.
You're Miley? Who are
you guys are tied for Lana Del Rey.
That makes sense.
And then nobody is Ariana Grande.
I don't know who that is, but yeah.
Alright. Nobody's Ariana Grande. No, you know what? Chief is Ariana Grande because he doesn't shut up.
Because he's loud.
He's loud.
I'll give him that, yes.
But anyway, that's dumb. But yeah, we've been. Well, me personally, I already kind of gave some of it away. My dad was a preacher. We moved around, ended up in the same city, became friends, and that's kind of grew up. We went to a college that wasn't too far away, Jay moved away with Rabbit. They came back. We are the closest of friends now. They deal with me on a weekly basis.
Well, also, Jay and Joseph, they work together, too.
We do.
So they
we
see each other about, 3-4 days in a row.
Yeah.
And then a couple
Yeah,
days
we
off.
sling books for a unnamed corporate giant.
That sells books.
That sells books. There's only one left, so come find us. But that's where I am now. I manage a department in the unnamed corporate book slinger. It has nothing to do with books, which is kind of funny. Don't believe in them.
Yeah.
Never have.
No. Prince is dead.
Prince
is
dead. And that's where I'm at now. This is actually my last week as a 20-year-old. I am turning 30, I guess, if you're counting. If anybody's counting the years and the days, I would be turning 30 this upcoming Saturday. So this is my last Sunday as a 20-year-old. So I'm perplexed. I don't know how to feel about it, but I guess we can talk about that soon.
We can talk about it now.
Or we could not talk about it.
Or just ignore it as much as possible.
That's what I learned in my 20s is how to deal with issues is by not dealing with them.
Just ignoring them.
That's what I'm going to take in my 30s. It's going to be great. Nothing's going to get done. I'm going to turn 40 and be like, all right, I got to get shit done now. Let's deal with this.
It's getting a little late, I guess.
Okay, 20 years later, then, okay, all right, maybe we can deal with this.
Late
maybe.
to the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about turning 30, because Jay's not too far away from it. Sorry
December.
to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
December, baby.
Only a few months away myself. So.
Yeah, one of our closer friends that we grew up with turned 30. Yeah. He literally, his birthday's a month before mine, so I know he's 30. And Rabbi still got some time.
Yeah, I still have about, 3 years?
So, enjoy your youth.
But enjoy it.
Eventually, you're just gonna turn 30 all of a sudden. I don't feel like I'm turning 30.
Yeah, I mean,
have we really been alive that long? What did we do with all that time?
Yeah, well, at least half or more was spent being a kid and a teenager, so that was kind of wasted.
Yeah, it was just a waste, a big waste. Could we have started sooner?
Yeah, exactly.
I was still prepared.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's quick, and I myself almost going to be 30. Also, it doesn't feel like I'm 30, whatever that means. I still feel.
We don't look a day over 22.
So
it could be because we bathe in the blood of infants, but
it helps.
It's a little dark.
It definitely helps.
It's Halloween. It's spooky season now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
There's Halloween decorations. You literally have all your Halloween decorations up.
We need to put them up on the
That's
first.
a little dark.
That's a little dark. That's a little much.
You're right. Sorry. Off brand.
No, that's true. We do
I
have
shan't bring it up.
We do have our Halloween stuff up. We decorate usually around the 1st of September.
I mean,
usually January 1st. Halloween directions.
Exactly. We do celebrate, the Christmas, but as soon as January 1st hits, we put Halloween goes back up. Yep. Which a lot of our Halloween stuff is normal decoration anyway.
Which, we gotta go to a spirit as soon as possible. I know you guys have already gone.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
I know you have.
Yes, we have.
I know you guys were there opening day, reopening day.
September 1st, we were there.
We were.
You were like those old people outside the establishment, are you open yet? 5 minutes till, and we're like, no, that door is open for customers. Please leave.
We're just
or for
employees. We open and 7:30 isn't early enough, but they're waiting at the door.
That was you guys though.
Yeah,
at Spirit.
September 1st.
Yeah,
we were
they
there
weren't
as
even set up completely.
Yeah,
and you're just barging in, and they were like,
the lady was like, so as we were checking out, she's like, this is it's like a kind of a cold opening because we're
Like a
not
soft
even
opening.
ready.
We're
Yeah,
not ready,
it's
and you're
a
like, you
soft
should have been
opening.
ready.
And it's like, well, you should have been.
We were ready.
We'll be back.
We'll
We'll
be
be
back. He
back.
said that.
Every day.
Exactly.
Well, we love Halloween in this household. And
Yes.
I think that's, I mean, it's hands down, like, there's no competition. Like, is there a cooler holiday than Halloween?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
the rest are just, like, they get participation ribbons.
Yeah,
Like, they will not be mentioned.
I agree.
What did we get at Spirit?
I think we just got a new magnet for our car because the old one
Mhm.
was just getting old. It was starting to crack and stuff. And then we got a set of Nightmare Before Christmas cups.
Cute.
Yeah, to just
Cute,
drink
cute,
out
cute.
of
Yeah.
normally.
All the time.
Pumpkin spice lattes.
Yep.
Yes, I had one of those the day that they.
Yeah.
The day
They
that,
came
the day
out.
that they came out, Rachel got.
I
a
just
bonus
know
bracelet.
everything. I'm actually a psychic. I didn't mention that.
Also,
No, I'm kidding.
by the way,
No, okay, so sidetracked. We love
Right.
Spirit.
Yes.
Sponsor us. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I don't know how that
Well,
works.
I don't either, but sponsor us, whatever,
Spirit
however it
will be-
works.
What is it about Spirit? Is it the vibe? I mean, I think the idea of it's so cool. It's just like a retail store that's only open
Exactly.
a very limited
Yeah,
time.
for
Yeah.
like 2 months out of the year.
Yeah, and it's just like you go in and it's about like murder and like scaring people and children, and I'm like,
Mhm.
this is it. This is the place to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of to be said for Halloween in general as a holiday,
Mhm.
where it's this weird celebration of
Of the grizzly,
of
right?
grizzly or things that scare us. But also there's this like wonder and imagination and kind of magic to the whole thing. So it's a weird combination of things.
I mean, it definitely is. It like takes those like other like lame holidays, the participation ribbon holidays. It's like family values and
Yeah.
love, and then it's like, no,
Like,
this guy's got a chainsaw.
it's like
He's gonna wear your
murder,
face.
exactly, death.
Right. Or people, yeah, I mean, people dressing up as like zombies or
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
devil. You know,
And just the fact that people can dress up like adults,
Oh my God,
like
making
kids through
costumes.
adults, kids of all ages, I guess. Make costumes, dress up, like that's doesn't happen anywhere else or any
It's-
time else.
Like facilitating those like things we thought we may have lost. It's
yeah.
that imagination of it. There's like there's like wonderment there, and it's
Yeah.
like I don't know. It's nice to participate.
It's fun, and it's kind of a holiday that everyone can participate in.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
so many,
Even if
like
you're 30 years old.
exactly.
It comes back around, guys.
Now let's talk about this. It's better than 30 years old.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Let's
I mean,
just have a whole
my-
subject about Halloween.
Halloween.
Halloween is
That's
awesome.
a facade.
We'll
of
have this Halloween,
Joseph's
and then there
real-
will be a Halloween episode later in October.
sh-
But this is the first Halloween episode.
I'm intruding on.
No, I don't know, but I'm
future
assuming.
plans.
Well, because if our camera actually works out, we're
Mhm.
gonna dress up for that day and then release it on Halloween. So we're gonna do costumes and stuff while we.
Well, this is like a pregame. This is like the.
Exactly.
That's what
There's gonna
Halloween
be
means to
it's
us.
Halloween. Yeah, exactly.
So
But
my next question, I was gonna ask what you guys
Yeah.
are gonna be, but obviously that's off the table because we want to be surprised.
I'm not
We
sure
can
though.
talk
Yeah,
about
I we can talk
No.
about it.
Talk about it,
I still
especially
want to
since
surprise
you're, like,
everyone.
You're the person that I need help with.
You do need help. A lot of help.
Yes, a lot of help that you can't give me, but what you can help me with is like my costume and stuff. We
Putting
can
it
talk
together,
about
piecing
it.
it together. Halloween. Okay. Well, what were we last year? What were you guys last year?
I ended up choosing last minute, and then
Mhm.
I got a devil mask from like a
You guys
grocery
went
store.
to
We went to Santa Fe.
Santa
Yeah.
Fe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. And then you dressed up as what rabbit?
I was Sally.
Sally.
From the
From
Nightmare,
Nightmare
Before,
Before
Christmas.
Oh, we shopped that at Spirit
Yeah.
Halloween store, open now.
Open now.
Oh.
What are the
Open
hours
now.
of operation? I know you guys know that.
No,
Actually,
actually, we
don't.
don't.
That's
we
like-
actually do not.
We haven't
goes-
gone that far.
There goes our sponsorship. No, I was a devil too. How creative of us.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's because okay, so the jig is up. I manage a cafe. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Why are you apologizing
I don't
for your
know.
job?
I'm apologizing to me. Is what I'm apologizing
Okay.
to.
The mystery was better than the reality of
I'm not a mysterious person. I manage a cafe and like a team of idiots, and I love them.
Aw.
But it was last minute, and I was like, all right, the team wants to dress up. I also was a devil. I wore the devil shirt that, remember you found me at Savers one time? One of my top 5 short sleeve button down shirts that I wear. Top 5.
Very cool.
It's a very like tumultuous ranking system.
Yeah.
Very boring. But I wear that with horns, and I got some dirty looks, and it was quite great. It was pretty fun.
Good, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some
good.
ladies were like, El Diablo. And I was like, yes.
Yes, exactly.
That's me.
Yeah, I ended up saying last minute, and we found at a Albertsons grocery store, we found a devil mask, and it ended up being super creepy. Like putting it on, and it had like a cape with it, just wearing black. It was.
Oh, you had a tie.
So
It was
dumb.
kind of it was disturbing.
You were like corporate evil.
Yeah. Oh, well,
The layers.
yeah. Didn't even think of that then, though.
No, that was intended.
Right. Yeah. Totally. That was the plan.
That was the
But
plan.
it ended up. I liked it because it ended up being
Operations
super
Devil.
creepy, like more than I thought it would be, and I was
let's
fine with that completely.
let's talk about Albertsons coming through though. Like
Yeah.
they just had their
They
like
had
Halloween
the
section right
smallest-
next to their chewable vitamins,
Mhm.
and they're like, all right,
Yeah.
we gotta like have all the options.
Yep.
For
Exactly.
whoever comes to our
Because there's
store.
gonna be someone who needs it, and I was that someone, and
Yeah.
it worked out.
You were.
That was perfect.
Mhm.
No, I love that. I hope you like. I don't know. You. Like,
I don't really want it to be like a thing every year where it's like a last minute, like, what can I find at Albertsons?
Maybe
but
it should be a
sometimes-
thing. I think that's...
maybe.
I think that's cool. You should like really explore that avenue.
Right.
Last minute Albertson costume ideas.
Yeah.
That could be a YouTube
Expired
video,
coupon.
honestly.
Right. It wasn't as last minute as we went with Javi and Maribel, our friends,
Mhm.
and that day it was Halloween
You
day.
have other friends.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean,
We're
sorry.
What?
This is awkward.
This is
We're sorry, Joseph.
blindsided me. All right. What worked
It
your
was
best?
Halloween day.
Mhm.
The day we got there is the day they found their costumes.
That's perfect
yeah.
for them.
At Savers.
Mhm. Yeah, well, they got hats from Party City, wasn't it? Yeah, and then they found the rest at Savers. They went as Doctor Who, and they had little
They
fez,
have matching.
Mm.
and then
matching
they got
costumes.
all the stuff with it, which
Mm.
worked out also.
Who were they?
Doctor. Oh. Oh. All right.
The regret, the faces of disappointment.
I think we're gonna have to end this one
A little
Eight-
early.
early.
2 minutes into it.
18 minutes is. I think we're good.
Yeah, we're done, guys. All right. Well,
Well, this has been a blessing. It was nice to be heard.
for 18 minutes.
For 18 whole minutes. This is the longest I've ever gone without being kicked out of some type of conversation because there's absolutely nothing that I brought to the table. Anyway,
Yeah, turning 30.
turning 30. Yeah, so should I be freaking out right now?
I don't know. I feel like.
Have it?
I don't think so. You know, I mean, I might be the youngest one here,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, I definitely don't feel 20. You know, I don't feel like obviously a
What do you
teenager, but
feel?
I don't feel 30 either. I don't, you know.
Mhm.
But with all the stuff going on with me right now, like, I definitely feel older. I feel that maturity coming. You know, especially like when we've had to, you know, deal with paying bills and cars and.
I hate maturity.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, are really kind of taken aback when I tell them how many years I live because they're just like, you're what?
Yeah.
You're just, and it's like, I think the thing I'm worried about is that I'm not mature enough, but then it's also like I'm proud that I'm not. I don't take everything too seriously,
Yeah.
and I'm just. I mean, what is maturity? What do we define it
True.
as? Does it mean I can't make a dick joke
Right.
in the middle of dinner? Like, if so, then I want nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
Like-
yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how I define that. I don't know the expectations of being a 30-year-old.
Mhm.
The good thing I will say is that I'm not like completely like freaking out. I'm not like, oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god. Like
Right.
that's not the response. The response is more just like a mild like, what is there is like should I be commiserating the loss of my 20s?
Right.
Should I go out and make bad choices? Like
Mhm.
should I have a little bit of a meltdown? Like obviously I say that like in jest. Those aren't planned things, but I think the idea of turning 30 is kind of lost on me because I feel like now it doesn't matter. I mean, for some people, sure. But for me, in this time, like, I'm not going to come next week and be, like, different.
Right.
Yeah.
Suit and tie or something.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not
or
going to, like, have my hair come to the side. I'm not going to,
Right.
like, not wear my leather pants to my
Right.
corporate job. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be fundamentally different. And so... like, I don't fucking know.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that's part
Yeah.
of the important part is you're not losing who you are just because you're getting older.
Mhm.
But you should ever be like progressing and growing with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know how much age has to do with that. Because there's
Mhm.
some 40, 50-year-olds or older who do not have anything as far as like maturity or have anything.
Mm-hmm.
They do not have their shit together. And there's people younger than us who do, you know, or something like that. So what does age mean? You know what I mean?
It's
And I
just a
think
number, baby.
age is just a number. 30 is the new.
Well, it's just like it's such a. So there's like, going from your teens to your 20s. There was
Mhm.
such a like a shift, you know, like
Right.
You could feel
Your
it. Now that one you
20s.
could feel.
it was
Right.
seismic, you know, like, and then going to your 20s and your 30s.
What is that?
I don't know. That I'm just at a loss of words.
Yeah, because there's like, you know, essentially a big change from teen to 20. You're an adult, all that stuff,
Mhm.
and you get to do adult things in some way. But from 20 to 30, what is that change? What, you know what I mean? There's no significant, like
What are
you
the
can
right-
still do the same things you have been doing, especially
Mhm.
for these last, you know, 27 to 30.
Like,
So
what are the rites of passage
exactly
that are expected of me? I've
Right.
been able to buy porn and cigarettes for a very long time.
Yep.
Like,
At this point, it's
do I need a mortgage now? Like,
Right.
what?
Yeah.
As like, what do I need to do?
right.
Right. And that's kind of weird, and that kind of blew my mind when I think about it, because yeah, I mean, the last big shift that we all had, I mean, together was when we were transitioning from being a teenager to being 20. Like
Mhm.
that's like the last time that something like huge and significant. I mean, we were supposed to be like thinking about, you know, college and, you know, getting our own vehicles and paying for
Mhm.
those vehicles and
Careers.
careers
Yeah.
Right.
and stuff like that. And now, I mean, I don't know, when is the next huge like shift in age? It's like when you're like 50.
Right.
And you
because
have
then
to-
you're
Yeah.
Because then
definitely
you're like an old
old.
person.
Like I'm going downhill.
Because then at least you're definitely
Don't
like
worry about
Right?
at
It's
that
like
part.
then we have to worry about prostate checks and
Mhm.
menopause and life insurance.
Varicose veins.
Mhm.
Is that how you say it?
think
Varicose.
Varicose
Veins.
veins.
Yeah, varicose
Very
veins.
gross.
Very
Remember
gross veins.
So I think I'm in a good place. I think 'cause
Yeah.
I'm just like I don't have these like preset like expectations for myself that I'm gonna fail.
Right.
It's kind of the idea of New Year's resolutions. Like you're gonna set them to potentially fail, so you're starting the year out failing. So I'm not gonna be
Right.
like I'm going into my 30s and I'm gonna
And
do this and this, only to be like, well, I'm 35. None of that happened. My
Yeah.
life is a mess. I'm not doing
Yeah,
any like
right.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna be
Right.
like I'm gonna chill 30-year-old.
Right.
And you know what?
Whatever
If
happens. Yeah. I think that's fair, and in some way, like, because when you think about it, 20s, like, really 20 to 25, 26, you're still very much, I feel like, a teenager in some way.
Mhm.
You're not really grown up, depending on the person.
I was gonna say like.
So- Yeah, so when I think about it,
You're
like,
Rabbit. I'm kidding.
apparently, I like how you motion like this,
Right?
like, there's still a camera there that can see, like, it's so.
Rabbit is pointing to herself.
Yes.
Yes,
If we
I'm-
go
I'm
only
framing-
audio,
I'm
just so you
framing
know,
my
Rabbit
face.
was pointing to herself when I was saying, certain people. Like, she was like, "Yeah, me. I'm very
Me.
special."
She was focusing. Also,
Wait a minute, you
I
guys.
do sound like this at all times. I do apologize.
It does not get
Yes,
better for me.
I also discovered that I had a very squeaky voice.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's bad. I've lived that life. Let's talk about our voices first of all. Growing up, I always saw like people like their voices were dropping. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't wait for me to be next. It's like, nah, bitch, you're 30 and you still sound like you sounded like when you were 14 years old. Just like nails on a chalkboard, like, appetizing.
It's good. You learn a lot when you start watching stuff back or listening to stuff back, and you're like, ooh. Ugh.
Right? You
Mhm.
listen to your talking habits,
Mhm.
and sometimes
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
sound as good as you think you
No,
do.
I was like, I always thought I spoke clearly, but I'm like mumbly a lot, or I breathe like
You breathe?
Yeah, I breathe like
The
heavily, or
fuck?
I'm like, oh,
All right, going into our 30s, we're gonna
Right.
not gonna breathe,
we're not gonna breathe.
enunciate.
Right.
We're gonna sound mannish, but not aggressive.
Yes.
You no, that's not
All
my vibe.
important.
And
Why are you guys looking at me?
we're
Do
looking
you
at
agree?
Rabbit. Can I narrate this whole thing?
Yes. Yes. Yes, you can.
Please, somebody take the mic away.
In
the
the event
microphone
we do
away.
not use video for this, we were looking at Rabbit.
Questioningly.
Questioningly, she did look back at us, and she's now vaping. She's now putting vape and blowing out the smoke.
Which will no doubt come back into our faces. It doesn't matter where you blow that smoke, it
It-
will
it
come
really
back.
yeah, it's
And I don't know what
It's
it
like
is.
it's a thick fog that just like
Yeah, because
I'm like, it doesn't-
it's literally the vapor, and it just kind of like surrounds, and then it'll go up.
It's like I don't know what the science is behind it, but I feel like there's some kind of like
in there.
there's like a grudge there, and she's like, I'm bullshit in your face.
Yeah.
And it's just
I
gonna
don't mind it though. It
engulf.
smells really nice.
It's just gonna
Yeah, at
engulf
least.
you, and that's why I like vaping, not smoking anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I can do it inside. It's not offensive. Like it's not an offensive smell like nicotine would be, or tobacco.
Yeah.
Joseph is offended. Okay.
Well, I got fired from the podcast.
Okay, so we were talking about aging, but I'm
Yeah.
over that because.
And then I don't know, like one point that I wanted to bring up is like, or that I was bringing up is like, a good portion of your 20s, you're not. I feel like I haven't felt more grown up and had my shit together since like 28, 27, 28, and now 29. So a good portion of your 20s, I even question like, how good were those years?
Were they great?
As a 20-year-old? You know what I mean? And my hope would be going in your 30s. At this point, I feel like I have my shit together in a good way, at least with myself. So that 30s will be pretty good. They should be,
Yeah.
because you
like that.
should have all the right tools
Mhm.
to use to where 30s go nicely and smoothly and
Look at this.
hopefully fun.
Look at this positive public speaker over here. I feel enthused. Bring
You
it
should-
on, 30.
We should be happy to be 30, but yeah, because when I really think about 20s, at least early 20s, I was like they kind of sucked for
bad.
so
Mhm.
I don't know. In some way, it's like I'm fine with not being 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that perspective, and I think that like the good thing about the last couple of years is that I've really found some things that I love.
Right.
Like we love playing D&D as much as we can.
Yes.
We love each other's companies.
Yes.
Like other things that I like, to name a few. It's all.
And other things.
Well, like, I really found what I like to do and what I don't like to do, and I don't think I need to pretend that I like
Right.
doing something.
Right.
And now I can spend that time doing what I like.
Right. Being okay with saying and acknowledging and setting the boundaries where you're like, no, I don't like that. And I'm not going to put time towards that. Or people in that sense, too, where it's like you can, in the sense, be able to choose who you like, who you don't, what you like, and what you don't.
I don't want to participate on that Sunday bang gang.
Exactly.
Gang bang. I can't even say it.
Bang.
Bang gang. Like, you can filter out all that nonsense.
Yeah.
And
We
just
don't have to do
enjoy-
Sunday gangbangs. You don't have to.
Not anymore.
You know, early
Too much
20s,
work.
it was like a yes because, we felt obliged and we were afraid of saying no, and then, it was a whole thing, but now
I have the energy.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like,
Also, I had the energy.
too many gangs, bang gangs.
It's a gangbang, so sometimes it's not one gang banging, it's multiple gangs banging.
It's a
That's
clusterfuck.
Okay.
It's
Bang,
gang. It's a
gang
gang
banging.
and a gang banging each other. So it's like somehow all together.
What was that one video game with the street gangs? It was based on a movie. Well, it was by Rockstar Games.
It was based on a movie?
Yeah,
Oh, The Warriors.
The Warriors,
Okay.
but banging.
Yeah, basically.
I
There
think
are
you guys are
bats.
confusing orgies.
Sometimes there are bats or switchblades. But what, orgies?
It got really
At what point does a gangbang become an orgy? And how do you know this?
I don't know this,
Mm.
but the way you guys are describing it makes me wonder.
Well, at what point does a gangbang
I don't
become
know.
an orgy?
I specifically
more than,
don't do
like-
orgies. I do
Gangbangs.
gangbangs.
We don't. I don't do it.
So
Alright, guys.
I digress. I think
So
you digress.
Rabbit is out. I'm leaving.
Rabbit digresses. Why would you even bring that up? That was
Pro
weird.
orgy. It's just
Really?
not
I'm
appropriate.
weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
Guys, I'm weird.
Anyway,
I think weird is great.
yes, obviously.
That's
There's
something
no
I
avoiding
love.
it. We're 30 minutes in. We got to orgies and
I
gangbangs.
I held off as much as I could.
It's
but
one of the
now-
first things he wanted to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Gangbangs. But let's talk about my love for weird people now.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, when you say things like, he's weird or this is weird, I live for that now. And that's
Mhm.
something that, like, being described as weird is, like, such a pride now. I love it. I love hanging out with weirdos. I love being called weird. You guys are fucking weird and I love you.
Yeah.
Aw.
I love walking into a space and people giving us a, like,
Looking.
they're
Mhm.
weird.
Exactly.
And I'm like,
hmm
I think
Anyway,
that happened the last
so-
time we hung out.
I get that. Like,
I think last time we went to Journeys, they were just, he was like, I
Anytime we
like your
go-
jewelry. And I'm like, thank you.
Thank you. With the whole fiasco, and then also like trying on shoes,
Jeez,
and
I
he's
was
like, what did he say? Like, can you, like, can you like measure your foot? My foot?
Okay, so we went into Journeys.
Yes.
It was a journey. So we go in, and there's like the guys that have like, I don't know, like the shirt and the button up layered, and they're like, hey, how can I help you today? And
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm just looking for some docs. And they're like, oh, here's our selection.
Mm,
And they're doing like a lot of hand gestures.
yeah.
And so I chose the pair I wanted, and he was like, all right, would you take your take your foot out of take your shoe off? I need to measure your foot. And I was like, excuse me, ma'am. I am a lady, and my foot will not be measured today.
Yeah. No.
I don't know. That was the weirdest reaction. And from then he was just like set off. He was like, he was trying to do his normal customer service stuff that was like, I like your jewelry.
Yeah.
What's I like this. And I was just like, thank you.
Yep.
You're still not measuring my foot.
Exactly.
goodness.
Okay, so I can measure your foot, and wasn't the response of like my foot?
My foot, excuse me.
It's like,
Like completely taken aback. Like I was not expecting that.
mhm.
But that was fun for me, I think. Not for him, but
Yeah.
for me. Having to deal with the weirdos.
Yeah, and that happens, as far as looks and stuff go, anywhere we go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like we try on purpose to do that or to get looks, but
it's
we
really
does.
just how
Joseph
we are.
Joseph does.
And especially like when we're all three together too, or when we're in a bigger group with different people, we get looks.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it is just like, this is who we are. This is what we like. This is how we dress. This is how we express ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's not that there's anything wrong with it, but when I look at someone who would be normal or like boring, really, it's like, what do you do? Like,
Yeah,
what?
but you're boring.
Right? Like, if you and your friend, or you and like that person and their friend, it's like, what conversations do you have? You know what I mean? Do you unironically, talk about the weather?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, or whatever it is. Like,
Yeah.
it just like
my Yeezys are dripping in this humidity.
Right, exactly. It's like, do you have conversations? Like, what are they? Or like, it's just,
Are they even about gangbangs?
Exactly.
And they're
why?
probably not.
Why wouldn't you not mention gangbangs at least once in a conversation?
Let's
You
do
know.
a word count. How many times?
In the
Gangbangs.
editing, just
Yeah.
ding,
Ding ding.
Ding, ding, ding. We're gonna add in on the visual, obviously, an animated, a CGI cat that counts.
Yeah.
Gangbang
Sure.
counter.
We're gonna add that.
Yeah,
Definitely
we'll
gonna
do,
add that.
We'll do that.
In the budget, if you guys would stop going to Spirit Halloween store.
Well, it's in the budget if Spirit Halloween sponsors us.
Ah.
See?
We'll go to our local Spirit and ask about a sponsorship.
Like, excuse me, ma'am.
We
You look hard at work. You're doing God's work. What about sponsoring?
How do we have a podcast that's 2 episodes in,
haven't
not
even
not
uploaded one
uploaded
yet.
on any actual sites,
But will be.
but will be, hopefully, granted that they approve it. What would you say about sponsoring?
Who do we gotta get approved by?
Who do we have to get approved by for
How
Spirit
do
Halloween?
podcasts work?
And they're,
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I'm sure it's pretty easy.
Unfortunately.
We'll find out.
Oh boy.
We'll figure it out. But and then she's just trying to run this local Spirit, like
She's just like, I
please
just,
get out of here.
I have a job for 2 months and then I have to find another job. Can you please not bother me right now? And I'm like, Michelle,
This is
please sponsor
Please.
us.
sponsored by Michelle of our local Spirit
Okay,
Halloween.
What would be crazy if that was her actual name and we're actually talking about a person right now.
It is.
It is. It's.
I dreamt it.
It makes sense. Spirit Halloween,
Oh,
Michelle.
God.
Not a,
She's great.
she's wonderful.
She's
She-
just a lovely person.
She means well, and she's trying her hardest. And
She's doing well for herself.
Yeah,
as
you know,
well as I
she's
can be.
getting it together. She did the Spirit thing on her own. She hired the local kids, and she's
Mhm.
just. It's hard. It's not easy. It's disorganized, but she's doing her best. And in some way, she really feels like this camaraderie and family almost because of the family that she at this point doesn't have. So
Oh my God, Michelle.
Michelle, you're doing well.
We love
We
you.
want you to know that.
We are rooting
Thank
for
you for sponsoring us.
Oh man, Michelle.
Michelle.
Let's talk about Michelle now.
Yeah.
She's
I
just
don't know who she is, so.
I just
Well,
told
I-
you who she was. I mean,
Literal
I get
backstory.
that. I get that, but
she's doing her darndest.
all right. Well, she got fired from Ulta, and she is now my favorite person.
Yeah.
Let's go to Ulta.
By the way,
Oh.
we might have to make a stop in Ulta.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm done talking about me being 30.
Yeah.
What?
Okay. One thing I'll add here, I'll ask you guys, and because I don't have many female friends, Do you
have
ever-
one
I have another femininely
energy. No,
present.
I
Presence.
wish.
But like, do you
Still
ever
a dude.
like? I had this happen
Still
to
got
me
the worst.
recently.
What got to you recently?
So I had this happen to me recently where I was just like taking off like my makeup and like washing my face and stuff, where I realized like how much like I've aged and how my face has changed, and I thought that like that would never happen to me, or I would never just notice it like that. But I was like, oh my God, yeah, like you can definitely see my face getting older.
What differences have you seen?
I'm getting wrinkles, and my face just isn't as like what would the word be, like supple,
Sure.
or just you know what I mean, as
actually.
bright as it used to be.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, it's just not as useful, youthful as
Yes.
it used to
And
be.
useful.
And
No,
useful.
both words.
But yeah, and it just like it's like I was just going to bed one night and I was just looking in the mirror, really noticing how my face has changed. And like, yeah, like I'm getting older.
No, I'm ugly as fuck now. You've aged very well. I'm balls ugly. I look like a scrotum that has been stretched over. Not stretched over. Like there's not enough balls in there.
No.
There's too much material in this sack.
I definitely wasn't saying that I was ugly or anything. Just that my face is changing. Like
Right.
I'm showing my age.
Okay.
You
And
know?
so when you notice that, how do you feel? Is it bad? Is it,
It
is
did
it
freak
good?
me out at first. Again, like, I love my mother. I love everything that she's taught me over the years. But sometimes she can be self-conscious, and she's definitely one of those people that buys the eye creams, buys the face creams, everything to not wrinkle.
Right.
And so I think in a little bit, like, that kind of freaked me out at first. I was like, oh God, I'm going to have to get some kind of serum and slather my face in it and
You gotta go
do all
straight to
this-
Mary Kay.
yeah,
Mhm.
do all of this stuff. And then I was just like, but no, it's going to happen. And, like, I've seen, like, my biological mother, I've seen my biological grandma, like, I'm gonna, like, look like the old medicine woman.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I am gonna get gray, I am gonna wrinkle, it's gonna happen. And I was just kind of like, all right, well, I'll ride this out as long as I can. We'll see how I look at, like, 40, and
Go from there.
you go from there.
And then we'll decide.
So yeah, just that. I don't know. That was just my last like little piece into
aging.
Into aging and
that whole thing.
what's gonna change.
I mean, the one thing that, like, for people, I think creative people in general, or conscious people and people like ourselves, so much of maturing and growing and aging is internal, and so much of us is internal, like who we are as people. But one thing that no matter what you can't stop is the meat suit. Our vessel just is
Saggy scrotum.
Yeah, saggy scrotum, face and otherwise, and literal.
Because my actual scrotum has gotten tighter.
It's actually gotten smoother, so I don't know what that is.
But the rest of my body has gone lax.
Yeah, and so, but you get reminded, like, where I'm reminded of, like, past injuries, of course, like, knees are hurting.
Oh my god, remember when you
Feet.
broke your arm?
Yeah, feet are hurting, arms are hurting, and...
Oh my god, remember when Joey broke his arm?
Yes, that was
sorry,
funny.
sorry.
But, and you can't... That's one thing that, like, is a reminder for sure when you see it, and you feel
The
it, and
aches
you're
and
like,
the pains.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's one way that you can't escape. But otherwise, internally, I don't know what age I am, but I'm not old.
But
whatever
that's
that means.
That's a lot of how I feel. It's like I don't feel like I'm a certain age right now, and maybe I will eventually because I am 3 years younger than you guys.
No, you
She
Anyway,
is not born.
So I am 3 years
Benjamin
younger,
Button.
and yeah, it's like I don't feel like a certain age because I've kind of had to live a little older than I am. So I still kind of feel like a kid, and I still like the things that I do even when I was a teenager. But I could definitely tell that it's like I'm getting older on the outside.
Right. Yeah.
It's like time is kind of shaping me.
As the rivers shape the Grand Canyons.
That was beautiful.
Yes.
Oh.
I am
I've had
moist.
only took 45
Sound
minutes.
effects.
Ladies.
That's aging right there.
Take note, ladies or men.
You just gotta read like your most generic middle school counselor
And, like,
poster.
Right, yeah,
And
inspirational
I'll be like,
poster.
ooh,
Like,
ooh,
oh my god, he's a poet.
Poet.
He's this century's Shakespeare.
Suck a dick, Shakespeare.
It's like a dick Shakespeare.
Which I read somewhere that he was probably
Really?
homosexual. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we are very talented. Throughout the
It's
ages.
only right.
Did
that-
you guys see the gay skeletons?
No. Gay skeletons?
People are so pissed. I don't know. There's like an ancient grave where there's two skeletons like embracing.
Uh-huh.
That has been, I guess, I don't know how long ago this was discovered, but it was discovered recently that they were both male skeletons.
Whoa.
And people were like losing their shit. And I retweeted recently, and it was just like, "Hey people, it's spooky season. How are we starting the season this off? Gay boyfriend skeletons."
That's
Oh
right.
my
Perfect way to start.
And there were the people like typing in like, "Well, they could have been brothers." I was like, I don't embrace my brother that way.
Well,
It was tender. I know there's no like actual flesh
Right.
and other things, but that was a tender, bony embrace.
Right.
So, I don't know.
I like how someone
I digress.
just has to make another excuse for it. They were
People
brothers.
are not gay.
Yeah, people are
right.
not
like
gay.
they have to try to shove
It was
in your
brothers,
face.
Mhm.
holding each other tenderly and lovingly.
They
in
could have
an
been
embrace.
best bros.
Because that's somehow better.
Yeah.
Right?
If they were family.
That explains that.
They were
like,
family, so that's
no,
why they're
gay is just a recent thing
Right.
you
Yeah.
guys invented.
Gay has only come around
Nah,
since
girl,
the
we've been
80s.
here. We've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, what the hell?
Rise up, queer people.
One of the things that you retweeted recently, I loved,
Mhm.
where it was like the gay friend at the sleepover
Yes.
or something like that.
He's like consoling the mom.
Yeah.
He's like, "How's your marriage going, Carol?" Not well, I could tell.
Oh, I can tell.
Oh, I
That
love-
was
I
me.
love
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
but
That's
yeah,
what I said.
like
That's what
what-
I said.
Well, I mean, it starts off with he doesn't want to go. It's like, but okay, but if I call, you have to pick me
You
up.
have to pick
And
me
it's
up.
like, but
What do
okay,
you mean?
fine.
What
But
do you-
I'm gonna take my Barbie like sing along toothbrush. And, well, how will I know when to stop brushing my teeth? And then it gets to the place. And it's like, oh, hey guys. Oh, hi. Oh, we're playing video games. Oh, okay. Oh, I don't think my controller. Oh, it's not plugged in. Okay, thanks.
I
Thanks,
felt
guys.
that on
Yeah.
a very
It's
spiritual level.
yeah, it's like it's okay. I like watching anyway. Like and that it's like I brought Guess Who and Clue. It's like, and that was perfect because I remember specifically us playing Clue, Guess Who and Clue. Like so
I
many
was a
times.
bad
I didn't-
bitch at
I
that
didn't-
game.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
So
at
even
sleepovers
more,
playing
even
Joseph,
more.
like us
At my
together, we're
sleepovers.
playing Clue and like Guess Who. Like, you have to guess who did it. You have to guess who did the bad thing. It's like so perfect. They're like, why are we all getting undressed? They're like, and
Why are we all taking our pants off?
and
No, yeah, there was a lot of feelings when I saw that video, especially
Yeah.
the Guess Who part, and I
Yeah.
was just like, girl, I had it down. Guess Who was my shit. I had it down to like a formula.
Yep.
I was like, I already know my next 5 questions.
it was like perfect. It was Guess Who and Clue.
Does your character have eyeliner on from the night before? Obviously didn't wash the makeup off.
And us at 8 years old, and me just being like,
I was
I don't-
this person.
it's-
I
no,
don't want to
it's-
play this anymore. Can we play Gears of War?
right. Well, yeah, exactly.
Oh wait,
Oh,
that was
that's-
way at no, sorry.
That was later,
That
but
was later.
still
Grand
a
Theft
thing,
Auto.
right? Still
Still
a
real.
thing. Still
Still
very
real.
real.
Twisted Metal. That was their shit when
Oh,
we
yeah,
were young
yeah.
as
Mhm.
fuck. And we
Twisted
were
Metal.
like, that shit was twisted.
It was. It was pretty
It was very
dark
metal,
and
too.
it was.
The puns were
And
really
metal.
nice.
It was. Yeah, twisted and metal. It was so metal.
It was metal. I remember for Elias's birthday, we like all stayed in like a camper outside
Mhm.
because that's what we did when we were young, from the city we were from.
Mhm.
And they're like, sleep outside in
Yeah,
a rolly
we
house.
Don't want you in. here.
we don't want all this boy scent inside the house because
Yeah.
you guys need to wash your ass.
Right. True.
And we were like playing Twisted Metal Black, I think was
Yeah.
the version. So that's how old we are.
Mhm.
That game's probably like 20 years old now.
It's gotta be pretty. Old.
And we were just like, we were watching like the like ending videos, and I was freaked out.
Yeah.
Like the like
They were
little
scary.
story, the
Mhm.
little story videos of like how the characters came to be, what happened afterwards,
Mhm.
why this lady is wearing like doll masks.
Mhm.
Now she makes people into dolls. I don't even know. Like I could have written that shit though.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Exactly.
But like 20 years ago, it was like, oh, this is high quality
a-
stuff.
As like 10-year-olds, 11, however old we were, it was like like shocking and scary. It was like the most well written.
It scared me for years.
Yeah,
It scared me for years.
it was spooky. It was spooky. I remember playing it and still getting scared of the game. It was like so kind of almost silly, but yeah,
Wait,
it was spooky.
How do we get here?
Sleepovers. Well, and one
Sleepovers.
thing in that retweet with that video was also funny that made me like laugh and think about us was when he was like, it's like, oh no, I've never seen the show before. I'm only allowed like 30 minutes of TV, and I use it a week, and I use it to watch half of Lost.
Half of Lost.
It's like, I guess in your case there was no TV at all, except for like some random like movies and stuff. Like,
So just so people understand that, I already talked about how my father was a preacher, but the congregation we were part of was super, super strict. No TVs, no movie theaters, no worldly music. So the only TV I did watch was when I went over to a friend's house, or I was at my abuelita's during the summer. That was the only TV I got to watch.
Yep.
So that also hit home. It was just a very, it spoke to me.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was so perfect for so many reasons. And then also letting you know, it's like, oh, like clearly you're not the only one who was like had life.
These kind of I remember bonding with your mom and Sarah and all the other moms. I remember I was like, I know I'm your favorite.
Exactly.
Because I'm not one of those little shit shows over there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially comparative to, like, oh my god.
They would be like, is Joseph coming?
Yeah, exactly.
He cleans his own plate.
He cleans his own plate. It's true.
I did.
It's true. Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, do you want me to wash my own plate after, like, breakfast? And your mom would be like, what is wrong with you? Not what is wrong with you, but like, it's okay, I got this.
Exactly.
Like, okay, thank you.
It's so awesome. But no, he was just very polite. But it was it was great.
I was a good kid. I'm fucked up now, but I was good back then.
Very good kid.
Part of the reason why you are so fucked up.
Let's talk about your sleepovers. What kind of sleepover material? Like, what did we do, Rabbit?
Well, very short story because I didn't have sleepovers when I was a child.
Not allowed.
I was too anxious to leave my home. And I didn't have too many close friends, especially like when I was a child, let's say from like kindergarten to like 4th grade. Like when you would usually start having sleepovers, or for girls, I guess. I was too anxious to leave. I was too anxious to stay. Like I'd go to birthday parties and like have fun, and then like, oh, we're all gonna sleep over, and I'm just like, nope, I don't want to. My mom's coming to pick me up. Mom, please come pick me up now. So I never did anything like that. Not until I was a little older. I had to have been in high school when I'd have a few friends like come over and spend the night. But it was usually very close friends. And part of it, and this is kind of funny, was usually my girlfriends. So girls that I was dating, we would make up a story like, oh hey, so such and such wants to come over and hang out, and then we're gonna have a sleepover.
Right.
But really, it was just a cover so I could spend time with my girlfriend at the time.
And make up.
Yeah, and so, but then we'd have other friends there, so it's just girls hanging out.
Right.
I just watched The Favorite yesterday. Period piece about Queen Anne, who was like hardcore lesbian with some of her like loyal subjects. And this is giving me I'm feeling this fantasy. It's anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take away from your sleepover story.
No, it's okay. Not at all.
That's crazy. I remember, so when you were like older, like when you started like high school, is that when you started having the girlfriend sleepovers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, I knew that I didn't just like boys, and I knew that from a long time. It was never something that like I discovered. It was always there. And so, but it wasn't until high school, of course, that I actually was able to like meet people and like have groups of close friends.
Liking boys is the worst. But
as a boy, I apologize.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
I should always apologize
That's the
for
first
my
step.
kind.
So yeah, I mean, it wasn't until high school that I was able to explore it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because then I was too young. You know, I was like 6, 7 years old, and obviously that's way too young to kind of like explore anything because I'm still a baby essentially. So it wasn't until high school that I started realizing that stuff and was able to get around my mom's strictness, because I grew up very similar to you, Joseph, where my mom, once my parents divorced, my mom became a born again Christian. I think I said that like in our first podcast. And
love that.
That meant a lot of like her religion imposing on my life. And so I wasn't allowed to really like my grandparents didn't like us reading Harry Potter. So so we weren't allowed to read Harry Potter. Our music was mostly, for me, it was mostly censored. Like, my mom didn't like me listening to Marilyn Manson. She had this weird thing about clothes. Like, I had to be very careful about the way I dressed. She didn't like me painting my nails black or anything like that, and she would try to take things like that from me. So I had like a little, like, they have them at Walmart for like $1 and like of like black lipstick.
Oh.
And she would take it away, she'd throw it away. And so I was raised kind of strict too, so I wasn't allowed to express myself.
Did you ever have to watch like a video about how Harry Potter was of the devil?
No.
We were indoctrinated and we had to watch that.
I'm sure it was around at the churches at that time.
So they made their own production.
It was the editing, incredible.
Of how Harry Potter.
It really kind of started my love for film. The Harry Potter's of the Devil Christian movie.
Right.
Oh,
if we could maybe research that and find the actual title. All the kids had to watch it, but you best believe your ass that I was watching like The Prisoner of Azkaban in my room, like on the side, with like the book jacket, the book cover of like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Right, exactly. The Bible.
The Bible. Like,
Bible.
They're like, "Are you reading? That's a thick book." I'm like, "I know, Mom. The Bible has a lot of scripture.
Yes.
Please leave me be."
Don't know
because I want to know what happened to
He's
Sirius
like,
Black.
Exactly.
We very much so had a very similar upbringing. Like obviously a lot of differences, but
a little. But I mean, I think even the denomination was similar too. Because my mom she very much enforced, and she tried to enforce to the point of like consequences if I didn't go to church with her, if I didn't go to Bible study, if I didn't do.
Did you have to do outreach?
What is
like where you go out in the neighborhood and you like knock on strangers' doors and tell them about Jesus?
No, but I did hear of groups like in the other parts of the church or different churches, but they're all connected, that would do those kinds of things. And no, I absolutely, there came a point, of course, again, when I was a teenager, where I told my mom no. It's like, I will take your stupid consequences. You can take the computer cord, you can take the TV remote, or like take the power cord to the TV. You can do whatever you need to, but no, I'm not going to church with you anymore. Like, I don't
wish
want
I had
to.
that. Gusto.
Gusto. Gusto.
Words. Joseph is currently looking stupid. As per usual. Our church was so involved. Like, every single weekend, it was like, oh, can I hang out with my friends? No, because we got a car wash for Jesus.
For Jesus, yes.
And then it's like next week I'm like, oh, but there's a birthday, and they're like, no, we got a parade for Jesus where we're gonna cover a song by oh my god, what was that band? G's favorite band growing up. Linkin Park. They made a cover for their most famous song, In the End. Yeah, but it was like, in the end, it's God that matters.
Oh my god! Wow!
And so they would practice that and then put it on a trailer and sing it in a parade. And I would have to walk by the trailer and like pass out candies and scriptures. And it is from that I have a deep-seated hate for organized religion.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely,
Yeah.
I understand.
But then not only that, outreach would happen where they would give pamphlets to a dangerously, cringingly shy little boy, give him out pamphlets and say, hey, go by yourself up and down this road, knock on strangers' doors, and then tell them about Jesus and give them a pamphlet. You better believe my shy little ass found the biggest bush I could, hid all of those pamphlets underneath that bush, came back 10 minutes later and was like, yup, done deal. They all know about the Lord now. I outreached the fuck out of this street. They're all gonna be there for our special church occasion. I told every single one of them. I told their dogs. I told their cats. I told their estranged cousins that live with them. I told them all about the Lord. I definitely did not hide all those flyers underneath that bush and then go count the clouds over until I returned. I think that's where I learned to be clever and kind of like sly, is when I was forced to do shit that terrified me for a church that was way too involved in my life.
And so, like, I didn't have that. I know that, like, maybe if my mom had, like, met someone, because, you know, my parents were divorced, so she was definitely dating. If she had, like, met someone and I had, like, a stepdad and a whole family unit, she probably would have forced more church activities on me. The only thing that I did have that made me really hate the organized Christian religion, at least, like, so I was doing really bad in school. I mentioned it on, like, I think our first podcast, and my mom decided that it might be a good idea to put me in a private church school. So it's literally our family's pastor. Like, he's known my mother since she was a little girl. He knew my brother. He knew my grandparents. Like, and he's done absolutely everything for our family as far as religious ceremonies go. So weddings, he even married my dad to his next wife. Like, he's been in the family since the beginning. So he has a church school, and he's had it for years. And if you can imagine, I think even my mom went to his school at some point.
He teaches the Lord's arithmetic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they all thought that this is a good idea for me. And he had his, not oldest son, but like one of his younger sons went to this school as well. And his son absolutely tormented me every second of the day. They didn't like what I looked like. They didn't like what I ate. Like, every single thing was criticized, and mostly criticized by the pastor and his son. Every single day. Every single day. And of course, then I had to go to church regularly. I had to take notes, and then those notes would actually be graded on the sermon. And so one of the last things
Wait. There was the assignment was to take notes on the sermon?
Yeah. And they had to be completed and graded in a journal.
How do you grade that?
Well, I mean, basically,
he was
just
like,
did
sorry,
you complete
this wasn't
it?
one of my great talking points.
Yeah.
C minus.
Yeah,
exactly.
But basically, you just had to complete it. So you had to come to church, you had to listen to the sermon, and then you had to take notes on it. And you had to have at least a page, I think was his grading system.
That's insane.
But of course, if you missed church or you only had like half a page, then yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So one of my turning points that's like, no, I gotta get the fuck out of this school. I can't go here anymore. I'll deal with the bullshit in public school.
When you realize it was an actual fucking school.
Yeah.
Sorry,
he used to have us do public speaking, and so he would just put a bunch of topics, probably in like a hat or a fishbowl or something. He just reached it out, and I got hunting. And at the time, and I think they did, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it now, I think they did this on purpose. Like, I don't know how, because it was random, but maybe they rigged it.
Every single thing in the bowl said hunting.
Yeah. And they knew I was vegetarian, or at least that I was trying. Because, again, like, I'm a teenager. I'm exploring shit. Like, I'm trying to learn about myself and what I like. And so I was against hunting, and I still kind of am. And, I love animals. So they made us get up there, and they recorded it for each kid. And you had to do, like, 10 minutes. And the whole time, like...
10 minutes?
Yeah, arguing for or against it, or why you like it or something. Oh, and so I'm standing up there at his, like, podium thing, like the pastor thing that they stand behind, trying to get through my speech. And the whole time, like, his son is doing, like, bow and arrow, like actions at me and taunting me.
I'm gonna fight this bitch. Where's he at? It is on site.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this was
this
in
little shit.
this is in Cameron, Wisconsin. This is really close to where I grew up and where my grandparents live.
Right, everybody
where my
get in the
grandma
car.
lives now.
Yep, we're going to Wisconsin.
Yeah. And it's the church.
Suck a dick.
And yeah, like he kept fucking up my speech. I think I only got maybe.
In El Paso?
I'm not sure. Is it
It's
the
that
big mega
huge
church?
one.
I think it is. It's the same
Let's
name.
burn it.
Okay,
Just
we're
kidding.
not-
We're
we're
not
not
doing
really
that.
gonna
But
burn
if
it
it
tonight,
happens,
It's an act
unrelated.
of God. It's an act of God.
Unrelated
how
if it happens.
are you? Oh,
So yeah, and like he fucked up my speech. I think I only maybe got 5 minutes out of the 10 that I needed. And I don't remember exactly what happened, but I was like, fuck no, I gotta get out of this.
how? First of all, how is public speaking a curriculum-based thing for a middle schooler?
Right.
I
was
barely,
high schooler.
hardly, well, but still, like, I barely even took that class in college. And we sure as fuck did not have to do 10-minute speeches.
Mm.
Like, 5 minutes was our final.
Or like something like that. Maybe it wasn't quite 10 minutes, but you had to keep...
It felt like a million years
Yeah,
for you.
you had to keep talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear
know
the
how
guy...
this school's accredited.
Swear to God, this kid... Now, of course, he's an adult, he's married, he has children, and he's
For them.
working...
Seriously.
Yeah. He's working on becoming a pastor, or he is already, and someday he wants to take over his
Shocker.
father's church.
Shocker.
My
Yeah.
mom still goes to his church today.
Mm.
Like in fact, she's probably there right now. Like she's probably there today.
True.
And the last time that I heard of this kid, he was trying to, of course, like take over his father's church. They decided to shut all the windows and curtains because they didn't want people looking outside and not paying attention to God.
And they didn't want people to look outside into the world that God created.
Yeah.
By their
Looking at the trees
By their
and birds and
viewpoints.
grass and squirrels.
the
That's
world
all
is of the devil.
Right.
That's all distracting to someone preaching.
That is
So
just-
they shut all the windows and curtains and
The same guy who was doing bow and arrow taunts and
Fucking
taunting
dumb,
you.
dude. Like,
yeah.
how dumb can some?
So it's like that's what finally like
Religious
made
people
me
be.
like nope, like I'm out. Like I can't do this. I can't
Mhm.
go to this school. I can't be a part of this religion. Like
I
those
can't
are
believe that's incredibly awful to go through.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
traumatizing.
yeah.
like, All I had to do was listen to a shitty cover of
Linkin Park.
Linkin Park. Now, like, that's awful.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those are my experiences in my mother's church.
Jay, what kind of did you guys go to church?
Yeah. Grew
Tell
up.
us about your Catholic
Grew up-
upbringing.
Yeah. Grew up Catholic, which is its whole other sort of mess, you know.
Mhm.
And I feel like from a young age, not really understanding religion or anything like that, and well, it's just especially in Catholicism, but depending on what type of Christianity, like being told at like 8 years old, like you're going to hell.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and just
Everything,
like
everything.
like Catholic guilt is like a real thing,
Mhm.
and you know, like the way Catholics do it is like you're bad, like you are bad, and so you always have to make up for that. So it's always guilt and it's always like shame, and everything you do is wrong. Like being a kid, knowing I have to pray at night and praying, please don't let me go to hell. You know what I mean? Like
begging.
God.
yeah, please don't
Yeah.
let me go to hell. Like being so afraid of that, and like, and but also in the back of my head, like being like knowing that this is kind of messed up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't like hating being afraid and hating feeling guilty and having that for so long, to the point where, I didn't want to go to church anymore, and it wasn't this big old thing with the parents, and eventually my parents stopped going also.
Like, they're still religious to a degree,
Mhm.
but they're not forceful with it.
Yeah.
You know? And
Definitely.
they still believe in God. They still pray. You know?
There was things that, you know, just never made sense to me with Catholicism specifically, like giving money. Like there's always communion, and if you don't give money, you're going to hell. That's bad.
Yeah.
You don't give money, you know. And it's like, wait, why are we giving money when you know that like the popes and like the Vatican is like the richest, like one of the richest things ever. It's like, wait, what's going on? That's weird.
This
And then I
sounds
remember,
shady.
exactly. This is strange, and I don't understand. And I also remember like all these other little things happening to me when I was young, to just like being adverse to religion, because there's other people telling me I'm going to hell and I didn't do anything wrong, or people telling me I'm going to hell because of things I like, like like Harry Potter and stuff like that. It's like, why would I, why am I going to hell for that?
Just let us be nerds.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just
Can we
let me
just
be and let me
nerds?
be a kid.
Can you imagine, like, sometimes, like, and just to, like, really quickly,
Mhm.
like, what we would be like today if we weren't completely, like, devastated by organized religion to like this extent, where like
Right.
How
we were
creative it
terrified
could
all the
be.
time. 'Cause
Right.
I did the same thing. I had to pray every night to please, I don't want to go to hell, I don't want to go to hell, I don't want to go to hell, like terrified that I was going to die in my sleep, and for all of eternity,
I'm
which
going to hell.
never ends, I will be in the burning lakes of hell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like having that fear. And because of that, almost being afraid of so many other things too. I was like afraid of like ridiculous things like aliens and ghosts, but then like demons, and then going to hell, and then other things. Like I was so anxious, like please don't let lightning strike the house while we're sleeping and catch on fire and all of us die, and like just crazy shit like that. Like it became like a problem where it was like almost OCD. Like I have to say this prayer and I have to say it like this and I have to say all these people, because then if I don't, it's wrong.
Yeah.
And then I will go to hell. And like it was horrible. And being young, like 8 years old, 8 to like 12, always like that.
Well, because you had to like take classes and
Yeah,
catechism.
I did. First communion and like first Holy Communion or whatever, and going to catechism and that whole thing. And being at that time being surrounded by everyone, telling you like, no, this is right. And no one telling me like, no, don't worry about it. You're not gonna go to hell.
Oh my
It's like,
chill.
Yeah, exactly. That this was the way you lived, and this was it, and like it being so wrong. You know what I mean? Especially for children. And then I remember weird personal things that would happen. Like I remember one time we were in another town, I think for a funeral, and my parents were we were leaving, and the priest who was there for the funeral like just happened to be in the same hallway, and they just started talking, because of course my parents are going to talk to the priest, you know what I mean, because if they don't, they'll go to hell. And then they're talking to him, and I was little, I was like 8, maybe a little older, but I was very young, and they were talking, and then he was like, oh, is this your son? And he's like, yeah, this is our youngest, and we have an older son who's like at home. I don't think my brother was there. And then he was like, oh, you love him more. Like they told my parents that they loved my brother more than me, and I was just standing there like in the middle of it, and he's like, yeah, you love him more, you do. And then like, so
where did that
I don't know
come from?
And then my dad was like trying to be like, do the dad thing, like, oh no, we love him just the same, that whole thing.
Is it like a firstborn son thing?
Probably.
Or
It's like,
something?
you love him more. Yeah.
Oh.
And so like things like that, and being young and stuff like that, where
literally
it's like
your most impressionable stage.
exactly,
Yeah.
where it's like, so I started thinking like, eventually that I just what really happened is I grew an anger towards religion, period, like, and I hated it, and like that's where like other things came into, like where I was going to do the opposite of what they said, so I was going to dress in black, or something like that, and scarily, and I was gonna listen to the scary music and the dark music because they told me not to, so that's what I'm gonna do.
Marilyn Manson.
Yes. and that's what I'm gonna do, because I was just so tired of that, of them saying this is right and this is wrong, and you can't do this. So I was gonna do the opposite, and I was like, if I'm going to hell, I'm gonna go to hell, because I was just so angry with it. And for a long time, anger the whole time, especially towards religion and organized religion. Now at this point, like, not super angry, like, but even now when someone's like, oh yeah, like, God bless you, there's this like innate like cringe inside me where I'm like, fuck you.
Fuck
or like
you.
my like almost immediate reaction is like, fuck you. But like knowing like most of the time at this point it doesn't matter, and like they don't mean anything by it or blah blah blah. Even though now there are still some people who are like, I want to pray for you, and like, which hasn't happened super recently, but it still happens. And if that's the case, I'm like, no. But like when it's just a simple like, God bless you, or like whatever, like they're just being nice, or like they mention like, oh yeah, thank God. It's fine, like, but I still,
you still feel it.
I still have this innate like anger where I'm like, no, and so it's strange, but that's really where it came from. It came from an anger of guilt and shame that they're putting all this on me, and I was so young that instead of it from it being fear, it just turned into anger, and then eventually I was able to like process like why I was like the whole thing. And
well, and I think you and I like. Our marriage and being together, we've really like grown to appreciate spirituality more than religion.
Yeah,
an organized religion. We're both spiritual people, and we believe in something. We don't quite know what it is. We don't know if it's a god or gods, goddesses, whatever. But we believe in something else. We believe in something different. That there's at least a presence out there beyond us.
I mean,
but it's not.
It's not something that you use to torture children with.
Yeah, that definitely that, or get money from people or whatever it is.
And I have another story that'll probably piss Joseph off a lot.
It's like,
let's go into this.
It's just like it comes into such.
I never knew you had to go through all this.
It comes into such an ego thing as far as religion, where the people preaching it are. It's like for themselves, and so it was rough. It's always rough. I think for all three of us, we are who we are now, and then like kind of opposed to all that because of it. And at this point, it's like it's not all bad. It's definitely not. But so much of it is used for bad stuff, and like you can't. How can you be behind it?
Like some people really do have good intentions. They're really kind people, and they want to portray that part. But guess what? It's 90% is overshadowed.
Yeah.
By power-hungry men.
That's where it all starts.
Back to it. Once again, I am sorry. I'd like to apologize on behalf of
Apologies no longer accepted.
We're gonna leave that in. Leave that in.
That was perfect.
Sorry, as I sipped very daintily at my beverage. I needed something to get me through the rest of this conversation, which is religion. We have come to this part of the journey.
This unexpected one, but actually, you know what?
Unexpected journey. This is like the Hobbit right here. Like
a little bit.
Do we want to do this? We're gonna
get
and you're not.
Which
gonna
it's a great topic too,
and it's gonna be terrible.
Because we each have like our own personal views, but we have similar experiences.
Deeply affected us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or I'm sorry, by affected I mean traumatized.
Yes.
Right.
Of course.
Well, okay. So my last story. I mean, I could probably remember and recount like countless things that happened to me, but the most recent that still sticks out and that I gotta tell at least everybody. But so my grandpa passed away in December of last year, and my pastor still being in the family, of course, was gonna do his celebration of life, so I would have to face my old church, and I haven't been there in years. And I've been home, of course, and my mom, every once in a while she'll invite me to church, and I'll just tell her like, no, I'm sleeping in, like I'm not I'm not getting up at 10 o'clock or like 9:30 to get up to go to church. I didn't do it when I was
to go not look outside a window.
Yeah, I didn't go when I was 15. I'm not gonna go now I'm 27. That's just not gonna happen. But it's like I have to go to the church. I have to go back, and it was fine. At this point, I still remember that stupid bathroom. I still remember the chairs that I sat in, the table that I sat in for
even
school.
The
smell was the same. The carpets looked the same. Yes. Yeah. Well, we didn't have pews. They basically just set up chairs.
Oh.
Like those metal chairs with the carpety. Yeah, the
like
carpety
the middle
part. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so everything was the same. And of course, like, it's, you know, my grandpa's
Visceral.
celebration of life. And, you know, but it's okay. You know, I'm getting through it. I'm just trying to focus on, you know, my mom's family. This is a weird thing, too, is I have been gone from my home for so long that I think that a lot of my mom's old friends and some of her older family don't even remember that she had a daughter. And it's so strange because, you know, everyone's like walking up to my brother, say, you know, Jim or Jimmy, you know, I'm so sorry, like, sorry for your loss. And no one's looking at me. No one even recognizes me as, you know, my mom, Candy's daughter. And that's how I have to introduce myself, be like, yeah, you know, they'd shake my hand because I'm standing with the rest of the family. And, like, yeah, like, I'm Candy's daughter. Like, this is my grandpa. Like, this is my grandpa's funeral. And so, like, it's okay. And once it's all over, you know, we didn't have, like, his, you know, casket or anything. So he wasn't there. It was just a celebration of life. We're gonna, you know, we had him cremated. Mm-hmm. So afterwards, you know, everyone's just talking. They're getting ready to set up. We're gonna have just a little, like, lunch, you know, after. And some really ancient, old dude walks up to me. Like, I'm kind of, like, lost, just, like, kind of talking to everybody. And, of course, like, I still, you know, I'm dressed respectfully, you know? Like, I'm not wearing, like, my big old chains or my collar. Like, I'm wearing, like, a simple, like, choker. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm dressed relatively respectfully. You know, I'm in a nice dress that covers all of my, you know, that covers everything. Like, I don't look out of place necessarily. But this guy comes up to me, and he's like really fucking old. He comes up to me and he's like, so do you believe in God? Do you believe in Jesus? In the middle, like, I'm just trying to, like, keep an eye on, you know, my nephews and nieces, trying to, like, make sure I know where, like, my mom is and my grandma. And he comes up to me and he asks me that, and I'm just like, nope, I believe in something else. That's all I said, and I was just, again, still trying to be respectful the whole time. And he told me, it's like, well, you're going to hell. And then he you know, of course, like, he kind of starts in, and he's just like, you know, I just told him, it's like, well, you know, we'll see. And he's like, yep, we will, because if you don't believe in God, you're going to go to hell. At my grandpa's celebration of life.
You'd be like, if you keep going on, this is going to be your celebration of life.
Exactly. Exactly. And I so badly wanted to tell this guy. It's like, well, you know what? I'll see you there, because you're not, you know, you shouldn't be coming up to me. My grandpa just passed away like 3 days ago. This is his funeral, his celebration of life. And you're telling his granddaughter you're going to go to hell.
Condemning her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything bad, you know. Of course, like, I can't hide who I am. It's obvious. Yeah. But, yeah, just in the middle of it. So my mom, and she's just a few feet away, she sees me because this guy is, like, right here, and I'm just, like, there. And she sees me, and she's like, Rachel, come here, you know, go get your grandma's lunch out of the car, because my grandma can't eat anything with gluten in it. Mm-hmm. So we packed a special lunch for her, and so she rescued me, she got me out of there, you know, and I went and grabbed my grandma's lunch. But when I came back, the pastor found me. And so, and he came, and he
just keeps getting better.
Yeah. And he comes to me, and he's like, so, Rachel, and he talks funny. Like, like, I would know the voice anywhere. He has a very distinct voice. He comes to me, so, Rachel, what do you think of the church? You know, do you feel weird being back here? Is it strange for you?
You're like, well, I wish there were windows.
Yeah. I wish your windows were open right now. But no, and I just looked at him, and I was just like, nope, you know what? This is just a building to me. And he was just like, oh. Okay, and he went on.
Read his ass. Like, this is 4 walls.
Yeah, it's like, this is a building like any other. It doesn't make me uncomfortable because that's all it is, you know? And so, I mean, that's the other thing that, like, my other story that I've had to deal with these people. And this man, I've never met him before. I don't know who he is. He's never, or maybe never seen me before, you know? But why on earth, like, he thought that, like, he was entitled to come up to me and try to talk to me during, like, my grandpa's
Yeah,
celebration of
Holier
life.
than thou.
exactly. Like even in
mentality.
his head, if he was like, "I'm gonna save her, I'm gonna convert her, this is gonna be good." Like, how is that the way to go about?
Yeah.
Like, how if you want to share your religion with someone, like, how is that the way to do it? Like
How
by
in your
accusing them.
old ass mind
Mm-hmm.
were you like, this is gonna save her life
Yep.
Right?
at her grandpa's funeral?
Yeah.
Right.
Let me try to shame her.
I mean,
Wow.
granted, for,
Damn her.
if, again, just in case we don't use the video footage, we're only using audio. I do have, black jewelry. I have tattoos, down to my wrists. I have tattoos on my chest, so if I'm not wearing a t-shirt, like, you can see them. I primarily wear all black. I wear these huge, like, combat boots sometimes. I'm very much a fan of, black makeup and stuff like that, so I can see why he still might have obviously picked me out from a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Even at my grandpa's funeral, I was wearing a kind of like gothy, like 1950s vibe dress with a full petticoat underneath, so I stood out. Like, I'll give him that. I did still stand
That
out.
doesn't mean he has to be petty.
Right?
Yeah.
Why he had to, like, pick me out. Now, my brother, though, on the other hand, too, yeah, I mean, he was wearing all black, too.
Mm-hmm.
He was wearing, black pants. He, had a bright red tie, black shirt, and, still all, he had, like, a full beard at the time, and he was wearing sunglasses inside. Why on earth that...
Cue the song.
Right? That old man picked me out and not, like, my brother or something.
I'll sure it has to do something with the fact that you were a woman, dressed how you wanted to dress.
Yeah, like, I held it
you
different.
dared to dress as you wanted to,
he was
or
threatened
respectfully dress as you wanted to.
a lot of other things that came out as like a religion thing.
Well,
but, yeah.
Okay, and so I meant, maybe I recant my statement on how I didn't stand out, but, like, I also didn't stand. When they sang their songs, I didn't stand. There's two reasons. Just because, first of all, I don't stand for their songs, and I haven't. Even the once in a while my mom did convince me to go to church. That's my own little form of protest. So you might think, well, you're not being respectful then because it's your grandpa's funeral.
No.
I also had injured my knee pretty bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember
like, this
that.
is Wisconsin. This is Wisconsin.
December.
Did you slip on ice?
I slipped on ice taking 3 steps out of the airport.
Welcome to Wisconsin.
Welcome to Wisconsin.
Welcome home.
Just a trip that kept on giving.
Yep.
Yes, it did. Because I also got
you had that knee brace on for like...
Yes, for
while.
weeks.
Oh, yeah, when you got back.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't able to go to the doctor there, so we still didn't know if I had torn something, if I had broken something. But it's also funny because as soon as I landed, I went to the bathroom and I got my period as well.
Wow.
The best
Great time. So my grandpa passed away, and I had to rush home to Wisconsin to be with my family. As soon as I get off of the plane, go to the bathroom, I get my period, I fall on ice. Coming out of the airport, seriously, 3 steps. Fell on ice, fell on my ass. I hurt my knee really bad. And I, have some old man's judgmental ass.
Anything else?
Decided to walk up to me.
Right, during the whole purpose of being there is for his funeral, which is already so shitty.
Right?
Whew, that's rough.
Yeah.
And that's
Love that.
Yeah.
Yep, I know.
What else can we talk about? Do we have any lighter notes, Joe? Did you bring anything?
I'm gonna just talk about my religion. No, we don't got time. I was raised around it. 3 times a week we went to church.
Yeah.
The car washes, the parades, the outreach, the I remember what they called it, but we would literally have like somebody coming from out of town, and there would be church every night for a week.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, we had these weird little like pop up. Yeah, like pop up.
Like a visitor.
Church. Yeah, special visitor, a prophet. They called him.
Wow.
And
He's
it
a
would be
prophet of the Lord.
Every night for like 5 days in a row.
Yeah.
Wow.
School week didn't matter. If I have a test in the morning, I had to be there. It controlled my life so much, and a lot of the situations that you guys had to go through, I went through. And so a lot of these things that you guys have said have been really kind of like taken me back to a time that I was so unhappy. And not only that, but being a gay child in a church that taught that being gay was an abomination, and everybody's heard all of it. You've heard the hate that they spew. That's what I had to really go through. And so religion really fucked me up. And when I was finally able to make those choices for myself, I haven't stepped back in a church.
Yep.
Unless it was for a wedding,
right.
Or maybe a somber event, like something like what you had to go through, a funeral. But I just, absolutely not. Never again.
Yep.
And when I came out to my parents, my dad actually left the church. But my mom's still a part of it. And anytime I lose my keys and I find them, she'll say, "Thank God." And I'll be like, I don't have much to thank. I'll thank my eyeballs.
I just lost my car keys. Yeah.
It'll be like there's a lot that I will absolutely attribute to that. And it's not me finding my keys.
Yeah.
It's me losing everything else.
Yeah. It's the fact that I lose things.
Yeah, I mean, what sucks, too, is that it didn't end there with me.
Oh, it keeps going, yeah.
I slightly kind of hope, too, that, maybe my mom would leave it eventually. And she's definitely had her hard moments where she questions their teachings and even questions the church itself, which she had problems with a few years ago, but she went back. And even now, my nephews and my niece go to that church too and do all of those events, and
they're not going to that school, are they?
No, they're not.
God.
But I mean, later on in their life, it might become an option.
Right.
Just thankfully the pastor's son isn't there, although he has kids now, so you never know.
Like we said earlier, for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
But she taught my nephews and my niece to pray too, and it's really hard when I go home, and I'm talking to, them and tucking them in at night, and they ask me, like, "Auntie Rachel, like, why don't you pray with us?" And it's just like, I don't want to. I believe something else. And they, "Well, what do you believe?" And I'm like, it's really hard to explain. I wish my mom had told them and taught them, and I try to, that, hey, not everyone is gonna believe this. You don't have to believe it either. Not until you want to yourself.
Right.
And that's really hard.
That's not in the brainwashing curriculum. Is the choice.
Thinking for yourself.
Yeah.
Choices.
I mean, I used to ask my mom a lot.
Choices.
Like,
I'm glad you questioned all that, and I'm glad from a young age you're like, "No, I'm not doing this shit anymore."
Yeah.
That's great, and I'm incredibly proud that you did that. I wish I had even just a moment of that kind of courage that you had in order to separate yourself.
It didn't come easy.
No.
And I used to argue with my mom, and I still kind of every once in a while I will, but I used to ask her, what if I wanted to explore a different religion? What if I wanted to explore, a different type of Christianity? What if I did want to become Catholic or something? Would that have been okay to you? And she's never really given me an answer, and especially when I was a teenager, she'd always say, no, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to believe. Anything else is, and literally this is what she believed, is witchcraft.
So even another Christian religion was witchcraft?
Oh, yeah. Wow. It's so ridiculously spooky to them to think about Catholics and
or
what is it, Catholicism?
Yeah. My church looked down on Baptists or
wow,
Calvary Chapel. They were they were incomplete.
In fact, my mom made these two older women who, and this is a very cliche thing and I hate it, who were descendants of a Cherokee princess, come and talk to me about how they got out of the Catholic religion and how they found God, and that I should do the same. And they feel like they can relate. Now, these are two very old white women.
God.
So there's no way that descendants.
Well, first of all,
why is it always a princess?
I'm 1/2 millionth.
Right? Why is it
from a
why is it always a Native American princess?
And for people who don't know anything about Native American culture, the first thing I'll educate you on is princesses and stuff like that didn't exist. That is a complete myth.
Right.
There's nothing like that in any of the different Native American cultures, especially mine and the ones that I know about. Doesn't exist. Not a thing. So, I don't know who the fuck these two old white women were coming to me to try to relate to me and convert
Cheryl
me.
and Carol.
Yeah, that's probably their names. But, yeah, so...
The audacity.
Yeah.
But isn't that the theme, though? Audacity.
Yeah.
Caucasity.
That too. It helps if, I mean, that helps.
That helps.
For some reason, there's this innate, like, arrogance.
Well, I mean, like, I don't want to even. That's coming from somebody who is half white, half Mexican myself. Like, I can, like, even if that's in your lineage, why would you tote that around somebody who's obviously dealt with a lot more than they would ever have to even remotely deal with and be like, hey, I'm going to tell you how to live your life because this one time, generations ago, somebody in my lineage married a Native American. Like, or just Native.
Something
Like,
that.
come on. Like,
They once spoke to a Native American.
So now they're Native American.
This intense turquoise jewelry that they're wearing.
Yeah.
They bought at an estate sale. The estate owned by natives.
But the estate owned by a woman who had Native American slaves.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
But that's, I mean, that's another conversation.
Yeah.
But, well, fuck.
But just the fact that,
Fuck
like,
them.
my mom found these two women, and these two women connected
them
with
in.
her. And then my
Of course
mom
they
was
did.
like, it's like, you guys need to come over and talk to my teenage daughter about
You know what my
this.
teenage daughter needs? This is what she needs. Two other old white women telling her what to do. She doesn't need, a deep adult conversation with me. I'm gonna bring these two fucking
These
bozos.
strangers.
Like,
Bozos, yeah. She talked, and really, like, what I remember now is, like, she was talking about when she was a Catholic that, I don't know, the smoke would save her or something. And I was just like, huh? And she's like, yeah, they'd come down the aisles with swinging their smoke. And I was just like, okay, but, what are you talking about? I don't care. I really don't care. You didn't like your religion. You decided to change it. That's good.
What does this have
But
to
are
do
you
with
still
me?
unhappy?
Right?
Like, and you're still so freaked out by someone else's religion? I don't understand you, lady.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love that.
Fear does a lot of things.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Joseph is currently annoyed by this talk of religion. Wow.
Yeah.
I just, like, that really took me back to a lot of things. That's something I'm not going to take into my 30s.
Good.
Yeah.
That's
Leave
definitely
that
Let's get
shit
rid of
behind.
You
that.
should, leave
Let's
behind
purge that
for sure. Completely leave it behind.
I mean, I think if I ever became a parent, which, poor kid, that would not even remotely be an option for me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want my child to continuously live in ridicule and fear and constant regret, like praying every night feverishly that they wouldn't go to hell. That really stuck with me, your story, Jay, because that is literally what I had to do every night.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. And the idea that you put another just tiny human person through that every night, that just breaks my heart. Like, even if you hate kids, which I kind of do. But, like, they're, like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
that's just...
Don't do that. Don't
It's
do
the
that
absolute worst.
If you want to put yourself through that, then by all means. If you're an adult and that's how you want to live your life, like, okay.
Yeah.
Also,
but don't put children through it.
Also, don't circumcise your sons.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's another topic.
Which will be in another episode, another topic.
Circumcision. I just, that really kind of resonated.
It's true. Like, in what world is the mind of an 8-year-old or younger, or even a little older, supposed to fathom and comprehend this type of thing? Like, hell and sins and stuff like that.
And what do you think the ramifications are? You really think, like, oh, they're going to end up okay.
Yeah.
They're going to end up good kids.
We're going to, like, show
this is
that,
how we
like,
make good
we're going to
people.
lead with fear. They'll be fine. There's no There's no way.
Gonna be fine.
Yeah. And it's a shame. But it turns people into other things. I mean, I can see how it could go an opposite way, and we could have been like in bad places because of it. But it led us to think for ourselves and the conviction to be our own people and stick to what we like and all that.
If there's some kind of positive we could take away from this, it's that we're not gonna ever subject people to that.
Yeah.
So at least we were able to.
We became our own people because of it, and I do wish, and I think Joseph mentioned this earlier. What would we have been like had we like been away from it? You know, where would we be now if our parents hadn't subjected us to all of this from such a young age? If we hadn't been so sheltered and forced, and
I mean, there's a lot of conversation that like parents just like they're just gonna fuck up their kids. Like that's just what's gonna happen. Yeah. And so I know I talk a lot about this, and I used to really resent my mom and my dad for putting me through this. But when I think about it now, I don't know if I hold a lot of resentment for them now, but I just wish they would have known what I know now.
Yeah.
I wish they would have. I mean, obviously that's stupid. I mean, not stupid to say, but like I'm sure, like, especially my dad, how I said he left the church he literally was a pastor for and was put so much of his life into. Once his son came out to him and he was like, oh wow, I've subjected my son to a lot of things throughout the years. I'm at least really happy that he was able to see that and say, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I don't want to be a part of that. And I don't know, I guess I'll take the positive away that I'm not ever going to put a human person through that kind of shit.
Right.
I mean, my mom did eventually, she's come very far, and she doesn't try to, she'll, like I said, still offer, she'll tell me like, hey, come to church with me, and I'll say no. And she's okay with that. But in the last few years, she has kind of, gotten a little better. She'll ask me what I believe and what I think and about, like, the things that I'm interested in and the religions that I want to explore now. But she'll ask me questions about it, and say, oh, what does that do for you? Or, how do you do that? Or what do you do when this happens? And, stuff like that. So she has, she's gotten a lot better. She has, And I still love my mom, and my mom and I have a much, much better relationship now. And it took a long time to get there, but I mean, I don't hold resentment for her for any of the things that she did. And I know that even now, with my nephews and nieces, she's just trying to do what she knows. And she's just trying to, raise good kids. Because this is all she has to work with. That's it. She has a small community of, like, I think we looked it up one time, like, of 1,000 people? No, like 11. I don't remember.
11 people?
11 people. Yeah, the 11 people. No, but, like, it's a small community, and she's just trying to do her best. And so I understand that. And when I was a teenager, she was just trying to do her best for me, too. She could have done a lot of other terrible things to try to raise me, and I think that's really in the end of it all that she was really trying to do. So no, I don't hold any resentment for my mom at all for her religious beliefs and her trying to convert her daughter to them. So
but also, what the fuck?
What the hell happened?
You fucking ruined everything.
I'm not at all
Mother,
resentful.
you destroyed it all.
I'm about to call my mom and just kidding.
Right. Why would you do
that? Just like we're
now,
taking another break. Joseph is
go.
having a moment.
Yeah, and now we're all gonna go like blame our parents and yell at them. So.
That's what you.
But
do.
we're fine.
Yeah,
that's it.
We're not gonna do that, which is fine.
Well, we have a little bit of time left. Is there any other topics we'd like to go over? Anything?
Not that we really have time for necessarily.
Okay.
But
I think that was. It went in an interesting direction. Yeah, it was a journey, an unexpected journey.
This is great.
It comes full circle. See,
Watch
and
The Hobbit.
Yes.
No, don't.
Watch.
You can't watch it.
You can.
The
It's
Lord of the
alright.
Rings
Watch
is
the Lord of
better.
the Rings.
Uh,
Yeah. Watch the Fellowship of the Ring.
So the takeaway from
But
this
is watch
The Lord of the Rings is obviously better.
Yes, Fellowship of the
There's
Rings.
no discussion
That's
here,
what
yeah.
we've learned from this. It definitely went in a direction, but we never know where it's gonna go, and I'm glad it did. I think this was great.
I learned things about you guys I had not known. And,
Yeah.
And now I, dislike you even more.
Right. And
We
now
all hate each other now.
I think it's appropriate to say this is probably the last time we'll ever speak.
Yeah.
I mean, well put.
This like 20-year friendship.
You're always good with
now
words.
is just gone.
Oh my god!
But I'm
it has
great.
been 20 years.
It has, yeah. We met a little over what we were like 8 years old, and now we're gonna be 30. So allegedly 30, and yeah, 2 decades is a very long
2
time.
decades.
Very long time.
Well, I want to thank you both for inviting me
Thank you for joining in on this crazy
on this
little
menage
scheme.
a trois.
Yes.
Minus the menage.
Yes, we got Miley, and I guess Lana right
Lana.
here.
Which they don't know who that is.
No.
Well, like I know who she is. I just like I've never.
I am
I've never heard.
perplexed. You have never heard her?
Yeah,
We're about
like
to
her
go into.
music.
This is about to turn into a moody
I wanna-
day.
I wanna
It is
listen to
overcast. We're
Tool.
gonna listen to Lana.
So with that,
Anyway.
thank you for
If that
listening.
tells
Thank you for anyone
anything
out
of our
there.
personalities.
Thank you for anyone out there who listened.
Please subscribe. Leave a comment below.
Oh, that is the first time we've ever said that.
No.
Thank you, Joseph.
Never said that. So thank you.
Thank you.
What?
Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We'll see you next time.
Later.
Bye.